7 years. That's how long my children forgot I existed. Not forgot like you forget to return a phone call or miss a birthday. Forgot like I was a stranger. Like I never changed their diapers, never stayed up nights when they had fever, never drove them to college with a car packed so full I couldn't see out the back window. My daughter, Emily, got married 4 years ago. I found out from Facebook. Not even a message, just a post that popped up on my feed showing her in a white dress, smiling at some guy I'd never met. The comment section was full of congratulations from people I didn't know. I wasn't blocked. That would have required her to think about me long enough to click a button. I was just irrelevant. I called her that day. Voicemail. I called the next day. Voicemail. I sent a card with $500 inside and a note saying I was happy for her, that I'd love to meet her husband, that I hoped we could talk soon. The card came back 3 weeks later. Return to sender. Not even opened. My son, Derek, didn't even bother with social media announcements. I learned about his promotion to senior account manager from his mother, my ex-wife, Patricia, during one of her rare phone calls. She'd remarried some dentist named Richard who wore boat shoes without socks and talked about his golf handicap like it was a personality trait. "Derek's doing so well," she'd said, her voice dripping with that particular kind of satisfaction reserved for people who think they've won something. "Big promotion, big raise. He's looking at houses in Westchester now." "That's great," I'd said. "Can you give me his new number? I tried calling, but..." "Oh, you know how busy he is. I'm sure he'll reach out when things settle down." Things never settled down. Funny how that works. I tried visiting. God, I tried. I drove 6 hours to Emily's place in Connecticut, showed up with flowers and a gift basket from that fancy store she always liked. Her husband answered the door. Tall guy, expensive haircut, the kind of watch that costs more than my monthly rent. "Can I help you?" he'd asked, blocking the doorway like I was selling something. "I'm Emily's father. Is she home?" His face did this thing, this little twitch around the eyes like he'd just remembered something unpleasant. "Oh, right. Look, this really isn't a good time. We're about to head out." "I drove 6 hours. I just want to say hello." "She's getting ready. Maybe you could call first next time?" The door closed, not slammed. That would have required emotion. Just closed. Like I was a package delivered to the wrong address. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes, staring at that door, holding those stupid flowers. A neighbor walking her dog gave me a look. That particular suburban look that says, "Should I call someone?" I got back in my car and drove 6 hours home. Derek was worse. I caught him coming out of his office building one evening, having staked out the parking garage for 2 hours because he wouldn't answer my calls. He was with colleagues, all of them in expensive suits, laughing at something one of them had said. "Derek?" He turned, saw me, and his face went blank. Not surprised, not embarrassed, just blank. "Hey," he said, the way you'd greet someone whose name you can't quite remember. "I've been trying to reach you. Wanted to grab dinner, catch up. Can't tonight. Big client presentation tomorrow." He was already moving toward his car, his colleagues watching with poorly concealed curiosity. "What about this weekend?" "Packed solid. You know how it is." I didn't know how it was. I didn't know anything about his life anymore. "Derek, it's been 2 years since we've talked. I'm your father. I think I deserve..." "Listen." He stopped, turned, and for the first time actually looked at me. Really looked at me. And what I saw in his eyes was worse than anger or resentment. It was pity. "I'll call you, okay? I promise. Just not right now." He never called. The gifts came back, all of them. Birthday presents, Christmas presents, that expensive leather briefcase I'd saved 3 months to buy Derek, the antique necklace I'd found at an estate sale for Emily, the one that looked like something her grandmother used to wear. All returned. Returned to sender. Like I was some kind of stalker. I'd catch them sometimes, scrolling through social media. Emily posting about family dinners, her husband's family, always his family. Derek sharing photos from some corporate retreat in Aspen, surrounded by people who weren't me. They were building lives, good lives, full lives. I just wasn't in them. The worst part wasn't the rejection. It was the realization that came slowly, like water soaking through paper. They weren't avoiding me because they were busy. They weren't ghosting me because of some misunderstanding we could clear up over coffee. They were ashamed of me. I figured it out one afternoon in year 5. I was sitting in my car outside Derek's office. Yeah, I know how that sounds. When I saw him come out with a woman I didn't recognize. She was holding his arm, laughing at something he'd said. His girlfriend, probably. Or fiancé. I wouldn't know. They walked right past my car. I was parked maybe 20 feet away, passenger window down. Close enough to hear. "So when do I get to meet your family?" she asked. "Soon," Derek said. "My mom and stepdad are great. You'll love them." "What about your dad?" There was a pause, long enough that I stopped breathing. "He's not really in the picture." "Oh, I'm sorry, is he?" "It's fine. He's alive, just we don't really have a relationship. Haven't for a while." "That's sad." "Yeah, well, some people just don't make an effort, you know?" I sat there in that car for an hour after they left. Just sat there, staring at the steering wheel, trying to figure out how I'd become the villain in my own life story. Some people just don't make an effort. I'd called him 43 times that year, sent 16 messages, drove to his place twice. But somehow, I was the one who didn't make an effort. That's when I started understanding. They'd rewritten history. In their version of events, I was the absent father, the one who didn't care, the burden they'd been forced to shed so they could finally be free to live their real lives. They'd turned me into a ghost while I was still breathing. Year 6, I overheard Patricia on the phone. I'd stopped by to drop off some mail that had been sent to my old address. We'd sold the house in the divorce, but apparently some companies hadn't updated their records. She was in the kitchen, didn't hear me come in through the side door. Her voice carried. "Oh, Emily's doing wonderful. The kids are wonderful. We're so blessed." She was talking to her sister, I realized. Aunt Janet, who used to send me birthday cards. "No, he's not involved. Hasn't been for years. Honestly, I think it's better this way. The kids don't need that kind of negativity in their lives." That kind of negativity. I know, it's sad. But you can't help people who won't help themselves. And the kids are thriving without all that drama. They've moved on. We all have. I set the mail on the counter and left. She never knew I'd been there. That night, I made a list. Not a pro and con list. Not a plan. Just a list of every time I'd reached out in the last 6 years and gotten nothing back. Calls, messages, visits, gifts, attempts to connect. The list was 4 pages long, single-spaced. I stared at that list for hours, and something inside me just broke. Not like glass breaking, like ice cracking, sudden, complete, irreversible. They wanted me gone? Fine, I'd go. But I'd go on my terms. Year 7 started with me sitting in a lawyer's office, signing papers to change my name. Not something dramatic. Just different enough that a casual search wouldn't connect the dots. I sold my house. That little ranch Patricia and I had looked at buying back when Derek was 3. The one with the big backyard Emily had played in. Got a decent price, considering. I closed my social media accounts. All of them. Changed my phone number. Closed my old email address. Started new accounts under my new name. I moved 3 states away, to a city where nobody knew me, where I could walk down the street without wondering if I'd run into someone from my old life. And then I waited. I waited to see if they'd notice, if they'd care, if somewhere in their busy, successful, unburdened lives, they'd realize their father had vanished. 3 months passed. Nothing. 6 months. Still nothing. 1 year. Radio silence. They didn't file a missing persons report. They didn't call the police. They didn't reach out to old friends or family members to ask if anyone had heard from me. They just let me disappear. Because I'd already disappeared to them a long time ago. I was sitting in my new apartment, in my new city, under my new name, when the message came through. Anonymous number. Unknown sender. They think you're gone for good. They're celebrating tonight. I stared at that message for a long time. Then I pulled up a photo on my phone, one I'd kept from years ago, before everything fell apart. Derek and Emily, maybe 10 and 8 years old, sitting on either side of me on the couch. We were watching some cartoon. They were leaning into me, totally relaxed, totally safe. They'd loved me once, really loved me. Not because I was useful or because I could give them things, just because I was their dad. I deleted the photo. Then I smiled. If they wanted to celebrate my absence, that was fine. But they'd forgotten one important thing. I'd taught them everything they knew about patience, about planning, about seeing things through to the end. They'd forgotten me for 7 years. Time to remind them I was still here. As the story unfolds, hit the hype button, like, subscribe, and write in the comments. Would you forgive them or walk away? The woman sitting across from me in the coffee shop had kind eyes and sharp ones at the same time. That was my first thought when I met Holly Pemberton. Like she could either hug you or read your entire psychological profile in under 5 minutes, depending on what the situation called for. So you want to disappear, she said, stirring her tea with a kind of deliberate precision that made me think she did everything that way. But you don't want to actually disappear. You want them to think you disappeared. I already disappeared, I said. New name, new city, new everything. They haven't noticed. And that bothers you? No. I paused. Yes. Maybe. I don't know. Holly smiled. She was maybe 50, with gray hair she didn't bother dyeing, and clothes that looked comfortable rather than fashionable. I'd found her through a friend of a friend who worked in private security, the kind of person who knows people who know things. Let me guess, she said. You want to see what they're really like when they think you're not watching. You want to know if they feel guilty, if they miss you, if they ever think about you at all. Something like that. And if they don't? I didn't answer right away. Outside the coffee shop window, people hurried past with briefcases and phones and purpose, all of them going somewhere, all of them mattering to someone. Then I want them to, I said finally. Holly studied me for a long moment, then pulled out a laptop. Okay, show me everything. Social media profiles, addresses, phone numbers. I want to see what we're working with. Over the next 2 hours, I laid out my children's lives for a stranger. Emily's Instagram account, full of carefully curated photos of her house, her husband, her perfect life. Derek's LinkedIn profile, listing every achievement and promotion. Patricia's Facebook page, where she posted about her wonderful blended family and never mentioned me at all. Holly typed and clicked and scrolled, occasionally making small noises of interest or disapproval. When she was done, she sat back and folded her hands. Your daughter's marriage is in trouble, she said. What? Look at the photo patterns. 6 months ago, lots of couple shots. Now? She's posting solo pictures or pictures with friends. Her husband's barely in the frame anymore. And see these captions? Living my best life. Strong, independent woman. Sometimes you have to choose yourself. Classic pre-divorce language. I stared at the screen. She was right. I'd been so focused on the fact that Emily was posting at all, I hadn't noticed what she was actually posting. Your son, Holly continued, is a liar. I know he's a liar. No, I mean he's a professional liar. Look at these posts. Every single one is carefully constructed to present a specific image. The lighting, the angles, the captions. This isn't someone sharing their life. This is someone building a brand. So people who work that hard to appear perfect are usually hiding something. And look here. She pulled up a different screen. Public records. Your son got married 8 months ago. Small ceremony. No announcement. My stomach dropped. He's married? And he didn't tell you. Didn't tell anyone, from the looks of it. No social media posts, no family announcements. Just a marriage certificate filed in county records. I sat back in my chair, feeling like I'd been punched. Derek was married, my son was married, and I'd found out from a stranger with a laptop. Why would he keep it secret? I asked. A lot of reasons. Maybe his wife's family is important, and he didn't want them knowing about his background. Maybe he's embarrassed about something. Maybe... She paused. Maybe he's afraid of what might come out at a wedding. Family secrets have a way of surfacing at weddings. I don't have any secrets. Maybe you do and don't know it. Or maybe they've created some. Holly closed the laptop. Here's what I think is happening. Your kids have built a narrative about you. In that narrative, you're the problem, the reason for the divorce, the source of all their childhood trauma, the thing they had to overcome to become successful. I know, but truth doesn't matter when people need a villain. And your kids needed a villain so they could be heroes in their own stories. She pulled out a phone, a different phone than the one she'd been using earlier, and showed me a series of posts from a private Facebook group. It took me a minute to realize what I was looking at. Is that my daughter? It's a support group for adult children of narcissistic parents. Your daughter's been posting in it for 3 years. I read the posts. Each one made me feel sicker than the last. My father tried to control everything about my life. He wanted me to be his puppet, not my own person. I'd never tried to control her. I'd encouraged every dream she ever had. He made everything about him, every conversation, every family gathering. It was exhausting. I'd barely been at the family gatherings. Patricia had usually told me not to come. I finally had to cut him off completely. It was the only way to heal. This isn't real, I said. None of this happened. Doesn't matter. This is what she believes, or what she's convinced herself to believe. Holly took the phone back. Your son's doing something similar. Different venue, same strategy. He tells people his father was emotionally unavailable and never supported his ambitions. I supported everything he did. I believe you, but they don't. And more importantly, they've built entire social circles around this narrative. Friends who sympathize with them. In-laws who think they're brave for overcoming such a difficult childhood. Colleagues who admire their resilience. So, what do I do? Holly leaned forward. That depends on what you want. Do you want them back? Because if you do, I can't help you. That's therapy territory. But if you want to know the truth about who they really are, if you want to see what happens when someone challenges their carefully constructed narrative, that I can help with. I thought about those 7 years. The unreturned calls, the unopened gifts, the closed door, Derek's girlfriend being told I didn't make an effort, Patricia saying I was negativity, they were better off without. I want to challenge the narrative, I said. Holly smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Good. Then here's what we're going to do. Over the next 3 months, Holly taught me things I never knew existed. How to create believable online identities. How to blend into social situations without being noticed. How to observe without being observed. Social engineering, she called it. It's not about being sneaky. It's about understanding that people see what they expect to see. Act like you belong somewhere, and 99% of the time, people will assume you do. She made me practice. We'd go to random office buildings, and I'd walk in with a clipboard and a confident stride. Looking for conference room B, I'd say to the receptionist, and they'd point me right to it. No questions, no ID check. It's about confidence, Holly explained. People don't question confidence. She taught me about digital footprints and metadata, how every photo posted online contains information about where and when it was taken. how check-ins and tags create a map of someone's movements and habits. Your daughter goes to the same yoga studio every Tuesday and Thursday morning, Holly said one day, showing me a pattern of posts. Your son has lunch at the same deli every Wednesday. People are creatures of habit. Learn the habits, and you learn everything. I started watching. Not physically, that would have been creepy and illegal, but online, from a distance, through the public breadcrumbs they left without realizing it. I learned that Emily was fighting with her husband, not just the passive-aggressive Instagram stuff Holly had noticed, but real fights. She'd posted a photo at a hotel once, captioned, "Sometimes you need space. At 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. You don't need space at a hotel on a Tuesday unless you're running from something." I learned that Derek's perfect job had him working 80-hour weeks. His posts about success and achievement were all time-stamped between midnight and 2 a.m. The photos of him at fancy restaurants and client meetings were interspersed with posts about insomnia and stress. I learned that Patricia was having problems with Richard the dentist. She'd stopped posting about him entirely, and when she did, it was always stiff and formal. Richard and I at the charity gala. Not, "my wonderful husband and I," just Richard and I like he was a colleague. And I learned something else. They were telling people I'd abandoned them. Not just that we'd drifted apart, not just that we didn't have a relationship. They were telling a specific story, with specific details, about how I'd walked out on the family when the kids were young, how I'd never paid child support, how I'd started a new family somewhere and forgotten about them. None of it was true. I'd fought for custody. I'd paid every cent of child support on time, plus extra whenever I could. I'd never even dated anyone seriously after the divorce, let alone started a new family. But they were telling that story, and people were believing it. Why would they do that? I asked Holly. We were in her office, which was really just a converted garage filled with computers and filing cabinets and whiteboards covered in diagrams I didn't understand. "Because it's a better story," she said simply. Which sounds more compelling. We decided to cut our father out of our lives because we just didn't feel like dealing with him anymore. Or, we had to overcome the trauma of being abandoned by a selfish father. The second one makes them sympathetic. It makes them brave. It justifies everything. But it's a lie. The best lies are the ones people want to believe, and everyone wants to believe they're the hero of their own story, even if they have to invent the villain. That night, I sat in my apartment and did something I hadn't done in years. I got angry. Really angry. Not the sad, confused anger of the early years. This was something colder, sharper. They'd erased me from their lives, and that had hurt. But then they'd replaced me with a fiction, a monster of their own creation, and they'd used that monster to elevate themselves. I'd grieved for 7 years over children who didn't exist anymore, but they'd never grieved at all. They'd just moved on, rewriting history as they went. My phone buzzed. Message from Holly. "Found something. You need to see this." I drove to her office. She had a laptop open, playing a video, security camera footage from somewhere, an office building from the looks of it. "What am I looking at?" "Your son's office, 3 days ago. Watch." The footage showed Derek in what looked like a break room, talking to 2 other people. No sound, but their body language was casual, relaxed. One of them said something, and Derek laughed. Then he pulled out his phone, showed them something. Holly paused the video and zoomed in. The image quality was terrible, but I could just make out what he was showing them. It was a photo of me, an old photo from years ago before the divorce. Derek said something, and all 3 of them laughed. One of the other people made a gesture, pointing to his head and making a circling motion, the universal sign for crazy. Derek nodded, put his phone away, and the conversation moved on. The thing about truth is that it doesn't need to be forced. It just needs to be available. Once it's out there, people will find it on their own. They'll read it. They'll question. They'll wonder if the story they'd been told was ever really the whole story. I didn't publish anything publicly. That would have been obvious. Instead, Holly and I created a private website, password protected, professional looking. It contained everything: the timeline of my attempts to contact them, the evidence of the financial fraud, screenshots of their social media posts about me, the emails between them discussing whether I was worth maintaining contact with, and transcripts of my recent interactions with them as Julian Morrison. Every lie they'd told a stranger about their own father, documented and dated. The website went live on a Friday morning. By Friday afternoon, links to it had been sent from anonymous email addresses to specific people: Emily's in-laws, Derek's boss, Patricia's sister, a few key members of their social circles. The password was included in each email. So was a simple message: you deserve to know the truth about the people you trust. Holly and I sat in her office, monitoring the site traffic, watching as people accessed it, reading the evidence, spending time on each page. "How many so far?" I asked. 47 unique visitors. Average time on site, 18 minutes. "They're reading it all." "Most of them are. Some are skimming. But yeah, they're engaging with it." My phone rang. Patricia. I let it go to voicemail. 2 minutes later, a text came through. "What have you done? Emily just called me sobbing. Derek's furious. How could you do this?" I didn't respond. What was there to say? How could I do this? How could they do what they did? More calls came. Emily's number. Derek's. Numbers I didn't recognize, probably their spouses. I ignored all of them. Holly's phone buzzed. She checked it and looked up at me. Jessica just quit. Sent an email to HR saying she needed to resign effective immediately due to personal reasons. Derek's going to lose it. He already has, probably. By Saturday morning, the website had over 200 visitors. Comments started appearing on social media, not on Derek's or Emily's pages, but on mutual friends' pages, oblique references, questions about whether people had heard certain things. The narrative was cracking. Sunday afternoon, I got an email from Emily. The subject line was just, "Please." I opened it. "Dad, I know you're angry. I understand why. But please take down that website. Please stop sending it to people. You're destroying our lives, our careers, our marriages, everything we've built. I know we hurt you. I know we've been unfair. But this is too much. Please, I'm begging you, take it down." I read it 3 times. The word "dad" stood out. She hadn't called me that in years. Not since I was actually her father. Not just the villain in her story. I closed the email without responding. Monday morning, Derek left a voicemail. His voice was strained, barely controlled. "You win, okay? You win. We're sorry. We're sorry we cut you off. We're sorry we lied. We're sorry we hurt you. Just please, please take down that website. My boss saw it. Emily's biggest client saw it. We're being asked questions we can't answer. Our in-laws are questioning everything. You wanted us to acknowledge the truth? Fine, we acknowledge it. We were wrong. We treated you terribly. Now please, stop this." I saved the voicemail, didn't call back. Tuesday, Patricia showed up at my apartment. I don't know how she found my address. Holly's work, probably. Or maybe she'd hired someone. She looked older than I remembered, more tired. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "Can we talk?" she asked. "What about?" "About this. About what you're doing to them." "What I'm doing to them?" "Yes. This website, this campaign to destroy them." "I'm not destroying them. I'm just telling the truth. The truth as you see it. The truth as it is. Documented. Proven. They're falling apart. Emily's husband is threatening divorce. Derek might lose his job. Is that what you want?" What I wanted was a relationship with my children. I wanted phone calls on birthdays. I wanted to meet their spouses. I wanted to be part of their lives. But they decided I wasn't worth the effort. "So, you're punishing them." "I'm showing them consequences. There's a difference." Patricia's expression hardened. "You're just like you always were, self-righteous, convinced you're the victim in every situation." "I am the victim. They cut me off. They lied about me. They accessed my bank accounts illegally. Because they were desperate. Because they needed to know if you could help them. Help them with what? She looked away. Emily's business was failing. Derek was drowning in debt. They thought maybe you had money saved. Maybe you could help them get through it. The words landed like stones. They only wanted to know if I could give them money? They were desperate. And when they found out I couldn't, they cut me off completely. Patricia didn't deny it. Get out, I said. Please, they're my children too. They made mistakes, but they don't deserve this. They made choices, deliberate, calculated choices, and now they're living with the consequences. You're destroying their lives out of spite. I'm revealing the truth. If that destroys their lives, maybe their lives were built on a pretty shaky foundation to begin with. Please, her voice broke. Please, just take down the website. Let them move on. Let us all move on. They moved on years ago. They don't get to decide when I do. I closed the door. Wednesday, something unexpected happened. Emily's husband, Trevor, showed up at Holly's office. Holly called me immediately. There's someone here to see you, she said. Emily's husband. Don't let him in. He says he wants to help. Help who? You, apparently. I drove to the office. Trevor was waiting in the small conference room, looking uncomfortable. He was tall, well-dressed, exactly the kind of guy you'd expect Emily to marry. Safe, successful, boring. I sat down across from him, didn't say anything. Thank you for seeing me, he said finally. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want? I want to show you something. He pulled out his phone, opened it to a series of text messages. These are from Emily, from the past 6 months. He slid the phone across the table. I read the messages. Trevor thinks I should give up the business, says I'm being selfish. I'm so tired of pretending everything's fine. Sometimes I wish I could just disappear. Start over somewhere no one knows me. Do you think I'm a bad person? I looked up. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to understand something. Emily's not who she pretends to be online. Nobody is. She's struggling. She's been struggling for years. And maybe, he paused, maybe she learned that from someone. From me? From her family. From growing up in a house where image mattered more than truth. Where everyone performed their roles instead of being honest. I slid the phone back to him. If you're trying to make me feel guilty, I'm not. I'm trying to make you understand that whatever you're doing, it's working. Emily's falling apart. So is Derek. But not because you're exposing their lies. Because they're realizing those lies were all they had, holding them together. That's not my problem, isn't it? You're their father. Not according to them. Trevor leaned forward. Look, I don't know what happened between you all. I only know Emily's side, and I'm starting to realize that might not be the whole story. But I know she's hurting. Really hurting. And I think maybe she's ready to be honest. Actually honest. Not just apologize because it makes things easier, but really face what she did. Why would she do that now? Because she's pregnant. The room went very still. She doesn't know I'm telling you this, Trevor continued. She didn't want anyone to know yet. But finding out changed something for her. She's been talking about her childhood more. About her father. About regrets. About me. Yes. I sat back in my chair. Emily was pregnant. I was going to be a grandfather, and my daughter didn't want me to know. What do you want from me? I asked. Meet with her. Let her talk. Really talk. Not through lawyers or messages or websites. Face to face. Why should I? Because you're about to become a grandfather. And you can either be part of this kid's life from the beginning, or you can be the story they hear about the grandfather who destroyed their mother's life before they were born. He stood up. I'm not saying you have to forgive her. I'm not saying you have to have a relationship. I'm just asking you to listen. Once. That's all. He left his phone number on the table and walked out. I sat there for a long time afterward, staring at that number. Holly came in eventually. Well? Emily's pregnant. Oh. Trevor thinks she wants to talk. Actually talk. Do you believe that? I don't know what I believe anymore. Holly sat down next to me. Do you want my honest opinion? Always. I think you've won. You proved your point. You showed everyone what they did. You've got them scared and desperate and willing to do anything to make this stop. You can take down the website now and walk away with your dignity intact. Or you can push further. Really destroy them. Make sure they never recover. It's your choice. I thought about Emily's text. The word dad. I thought about 7 years of silence and a voicemail from Derek, finally admitting they were wrong. I thought about a grandchild I'd never meet if I kept going. What would you do? I asked. Holly smiled sadly. I'd burn it all down, but I'm not you. I don't have kids. I don't know what it's like to be a parent. Being a parent doesn't mean accepting abuse. No, but it might mean accepting imperfect apologies from imperfect people. I picked up Trevor's number, stared at it. If I meet with them, I said slowly, it's not to forgive them. It's not to rebuild a relationship. It's to hear them admit the truth. All of it. No excuses. No justifications. Just honest acknowledgement of what they did. And if they do that, then maybe I'll take down the website. Maybe? I said maybe. I called Trevor that night. He answered on the first ring. I'll meet with them, I said, but only if they agree to certain conditions. What conditions? No lawyers, no recording devices, no other family members, just me, Emily, and Derek, and they have to be willing to tell the truth. The actual truth, not some watered-down version designed to make them look better. I'll talk to Emily. And Derek? He's harder, but I'll try. 2 days later, I got a text from Trevor. They've agreed. Saturday afternoon, my house, 2 p.m. I showed up at 1:50. Trevor's house was in one of those developments where every lawn looks the same and every house costs more than most people make in 5 years. Respectable, safe, boring. Trevor opened the door before I could knock. They're in the living room, he said quietly. I'll be upstairs if you need me, but this is between you three. I walked into the living room. Emily and Derek were sitting on opposite ends of a couch, as far apart as they could get while still being on the same piece of furniture. Neither of them looked at me when I entered. I sat down in the chair across from them. Waited. Finally, Emily spoke. Thank you for coming. Trevor said you wanted to talk. We do, She glanced at Derek. He was staring at the floor, jaw tight. We want to apologize. Okay, apologize. We're sorry. For? She stopped, started again. For cutting you out of our lives, for lying about you, for accessing your bank accounts, for everything. Why? Why what? Why did you do it? Don't give me some generic answer about being young or confused or hurt by the divorce. I want the real reason. Emily looked at Derek again. He still wasn't looking at either of us. Because it was easier, she said finally. Easier than what? Than dealing with you. Than figuring out how to have a relationship with you after the divorce. Than navigating all the complicated feelings and guilt and obligation. It was just easier to cut you off and move on. And the lies? We needed a reason. People kept asking about you. Where's your father? Why isn't he here? We couldn't just say, we decided we didn't want him around anymore. So we created a story that made sense, that made us look like the reasonable ones. And the bank accounts? Emily's face flushed. That was my idea. We were both struggling financially. I thought maybe you had savings. Maybe you could help us. So I used your old login information and checked. And when you found out I didn't have any money, we decided it wasn't worth maintaining contact. The words hung in the air. Brutal. Honest. Worse than any lie because they were true. I looked at Derek. Is that how you see it too? He finally looked up. His eyes were red. Yeah, that's how it happened. So you used me for money, and when I didn't have any, you threw me away. Yes. And the story about me abandoning you? About me being a bad father? It was easier to believe than the truth, Derek said. The truth is that we're selfish, that we prioritized our comfort over our relationship with you, that we're not good people. The lie was easier. I sat back. This was what I'd wanted. Full honesty, complete acknowledgement of what they'd done, no excuses, no justifications, and it didn't feel like I thought it would. Emily's pregnant, I said. Emily's head snapped up. Trevor told you? He thought I should know. I was going to tell you. Eventually. Were you? She didn't answer. What do you want from me? I asked. Forgiveness? A relationship? For me to take down the website and pretend none of this happened? I don't know, Emily said. I don't want my child to grow up with this hanging over them, this war between us. I don't want them to hear stories about how their grandfather destroyed their mother's life before they were born. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you destroyed our relationship. I know we did this. I know it's our fault, but can't we just start over somehow? Start over how? You spent 7 years erasing me. I spent the last few months returning the favor. What's left to start from? I don't know, but we have to try, for the baby. I looked at both of them, my children, who weren't really my children anymore, who'd made it clear they never wanted to be. The baby doesn't make this okay, I said. Being pregnant doesn't erase what you did. I know. And I'm not going to pretend to be a happy grandfather for the sake of appearances. I'm not asking you to pretend anything. I'm asking you to give us a chance. One chance to do better. Why should I? Because, Emily's voice broke. Because I'm sorry. Really sorry. Not just sorry that it blew up in our faces. Sorry for what we did to you. For how we treated you. For the lies and the cruelty and the 7 years of silence. I'm sorry. She was crying now. Real tears, not the performative kind. Derek was staring at the floor again, but his hands were clenched into fists. Derek? I said. Anything to add? He looked up. His face was a mess of emotions I couldn't parse. I was wrong. About everything. About you. About what kind of father you were. About what I owed you. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Do you mean that? Yes. I stood up, walked to the window. Outside, the neighborhood was perfect and quiet. Lawns mowed, cars washed, everything in its place. I'll take down the website, I said. Behind me, I heard Emily's breath catch. But, I continued, that doesn't mean we have a relationship. That doesn't mean I'm going to show up for holidays or meet the baby or pretend to be a family again. It just means I'm done punishing you. That's fair, Derek said quietly. Is it? I turned back to face them. You destroyed 7 years of my life. You made me question everything about myself as a father. You lied about me to everyone you knew. And now I'm supposed to accept I'm sorry and move on? What do you want from us? Emily asked. I want you to understand what you did. Really understand. Not just acknowledge it because it's convenient, but actually feel it. The weight of it. The years of loneliness and rejection and confusion. I want you to carry that with you for the rest of your lives. We will, she said. Will you? Or will you find a way to spin this into another story, another narrative where you're the heroes who overcame adversity? I don't know how to prove to you that we're sincere, Derek said. What do you want? A written apology? Public acknowledgement? What would make you believe us? Nothing, I said. Because I don't believe people anymore. I believe actions. And your actions for 7 years told me everything I needed to know about who you are. Then why take down the website? Why stop? Because I'm tired. Because revenge doesn't feel the way I thought it would. Because I realized something. What? That you won anyway. Because even if I destroy your reputations and your careers and your marriages, I still lost 7 years with you. I still lost the chance to be your father. And nothing I do now will get that back. The room was silent. I'm going to leave now, I said. I'll take down the website tonight. You can tell people whatever story you want about what happened. I don't care anymore. Wait, Emily said. What about the baby? What about it? Do you want to be part of their life? I thought about that. About a grandchild I'd never hold. About being erased from another generation's life before I'd even met them. I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me again after they're born, if you still want me around, if you haven't found another convenient lie to explain my absence. I walked to the door. Trevor was standing in the hallway, having apparently listened to everything. That was brutal, he said quietly. Yeah. Do you feel better? No. Are you going to take down the website? I said I would. And the baby? I don't know, we'll see. I left. Drove back to my apartment. Called Holly. Take down the website, I said. You sure? Yeah. What happened? They apologized, admitted everything, begged for another chance. And I realized it doesn't matter. They could apologize 1,000 times and it wouldn't change what happened. So I'm done. I'm taking down the website and I'm moving on. Moving on to what? I don't know yet. But not this. I'm tired of being angry. It's exhausting. Holly was quiet for a moment. I'm proud of you. For what? For knowing when to stop. Not everyone does. I didn't do it for moral reasons. I did it because I'm tired. Same difference. I hung up and sat in my apartment staring at nothing. My phone buzzed. A message from Emily. Thank you for taking down the website. I know you don't owe us anything and I know sorry isn't enough. But I'm grateful. And I meant what I said. I am sorry. Really, truly sorry. I deleted the message. Then I opened my photo app and scrolled back to that picture I'd deleted months ago. Derek and Emily as kids, sitting on either side of me on the couch, watching cartoons. Happy. I'd deleted it once. But phones keep everything, even deleted photos, for 30 days. And I'd restored it. Kept it hidden in a folder I never looked at. I looked at it now. At those 2 kids who'd loved me once, who'd become adults who didn't. And I wondered if they'd ever really been the same people, or if I'd just been telling myself a story all these years. A story about who my children were, who I was as a father, what our family meant. Maybe everyone was just telling stories, making sense of senseless things, trying to be the heroes of narratives that didn't have heroes. I deleted the photo again. For real this time. Permanently. Then I pulled out my laptop and started writing. Not an exposé, not evidence, not revenge, just my story. The whole truth. Not for them, not for an audience, just for me. So I'd remember. So I'd never forget what it felt like to be erased by the people you loved most. So I'd know, years from now, that I'd tried, that I'd shown up, that whatever happened next, I'd done everything I could. And maybe that would be enough. Maybe.